This is the behind-the-scenes look at the Anachroschism, where after a session, periodically we just check in with how everybody's feeling about how things went, what they're thinking about as we go looking ahead into the future, and what the coolest moments were of the stuff we just did. So, we're essentially covering the second half of the Lycidian arc, where this is everything that happened essentially after a stealth mission that went wrong. And so basically that following day, I think expectations were all over the place, and I even asked you guys off air last week what you thought your chances were, and it turns out that she was still there.
Yeah.
Alive.
And alive.
Yeah, so I thought chances were low, like super low after Grail and Lena botched the stealth mission. But I was not expecting, I wasn't expecting the connection with Dryden and this, just simply because it seemed like he knew what was going on when Dryden's like weird stooge was in the inn, but like not the specific thing we were up to.
I have to guess that he put two and two together. He knew we were in the city. Some people were poking around the house.
Yeah.
And because after that, they rushed to get out. They left the note.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but that's my best guess.
I mean, that makes sense because it's like, why wouldn't the dude who shot Isaac, why wouldn't he have said anything about Aurora? Like, he must have reported that to Dryden, right? Unless he's a mastermind and knows everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But
I do like the connection. I do. I think that was good.
We were also in Harnstead, and some of his, we interacted with one of his gangs there, and then we show up and they're suddenly involved in the docks. And if any of that, so
Yeah,
between
right.
knowing we were in Harnstead, then knowing we were around Aurora in the docks, potentially, then knowing that there was potentially a break-in at that particular warehouse, it would not take much to be like, oh, which of my assets is around Harnstead? Oh, his project is the docks by Aurora. Oh,
yeah, we're
that's
kind of
the
leaving a
warehouse that
trail.
was- yeah, like
It's somewhat unavoidable, but we are leaving a trail.
Yeah.
And I won't say a ton about this because obviously the mystery is something you guys will figure out as you go forward. I will say that there have been two specific moments in recordings that have at least tipped off Faust to some degree.
Sure, the guy escaping in Harnstead was probably one of them.
That's one of my guesses. The guy escaping and the botched stealth attempt. Again, we could both be totally wrong on both accounts, but that's what my guess would be.
Was it Falstock where we had the first conversation where a bunch of information was revealed about us? Casually to a person we know specifically to be our enemy.
He didn't do too well, like kind.
This is Lena. She's from the Sowenwood. Don't do the math on that one, please.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll find out when we go back to Falstock. What the hell is going on there?
Yeah. Where Thorogood has not been idle.
Good. I hope he's mounting every defense. It'll feel so much better to kill him when he's ready for us.
Yeah.
But
And
not for a while
present.
because he seems way more powerful than we are.
I forgot about everything in Falstock for a good reason because now I'm like, I dread going back there.
I'm learning very quickly. Crash has a wicked good memory for details that happen in this game. Not about a whole lot else, though.
Karash was like
useful.
the MVP of this whole thing. That was
God.
genius in the shop. It was like a very Isaac heavy episode, which I was like, I feel that this is happening, but I was like, I've been so gung ho about finding her, and when we finally do, the whole like protective sister like impulse is like I can't avoid it. But with that said, I think Karash was still like the MVP.
Yeah, that's why I was super adamant about him going into the shop alone. It's like in the past, we talked about this the last time we did one of these little like round robin things, and like we kind of just like stifled his plans or like his ideas, and I was like, you know what, this is an idea, it's the best one we have, let's let him do it. And like I actually really I almost like have a different impression of Karash every time he does something alone, or sometimes in groups too, because I'm like, oh, he's going to behave this way. And then he does something like totally unexpected. And I really like that about Karash. Like, I think it's easy to be like, he's stupid or whatever, but like that's totally not the case at all. He's actually has a lot of like street smarts or whatever. And I am always really impressed when he like pulls that shit out and actually is like quite the conversationalist. And like he kind of like knows who to manipulate or who to talk to get information. And Tessian does it as well, but like I feel like Karash does it on like a very like layman's terms. And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Koresh has spent the last couple of years, you got to remember, trying to find people. So talking to people to try and find people, my wheelhouse.
Yeah, and you're just very honest about things. Like, even if you're kind of lying, like there's a lot of honesty there. People want to trust you, I think, because you just have this simple way about you. And I think it's really cool.
That's actually it. Like, a rare sort of hulking dragonborn. You could think, oh, like, I don't know if this is the best first person for Sophia to be seeing, but then I was like, but it's Karash. He's so kind and like gentle natured when it calls for it. And like, I didn't have that worry. He's very charming.
Mm-hmm.
And he was when he just pulled her up. Boop. That was cute.
As he fended off Isaac.
Yeah.
One hand on the door, one hand on the rhubarb. I'm like, no, Isaac, no.
Definitely.
I was happy that, I mean, I know everyone is like, we saved a girl, but like, look, me and Lena actually got income for our party. I mean, I know that's not, the sexiest adventure or part of this adventure so far, but like, we've just built a power base with a guild potentially. We now have a potential source of income long term. We have a path to potentially start literally changing written history because we'll be writing it and passing it on. I know that that's not the biggest, coolest part that happened here, but like
it was a really good B plot. It really was
really good.
Yeah, take that B plot.
No, it was really good.
But it was the B plot, yeah.
Isaac will not forget the choices that were made. I know he won't. Now, he might, but it may not ever come up again. There are some things he's thinking about it, and they may not come to pass, but he will not forget.
I just imagined like a Telltale thing where it's like, Isaac will not forget this.
Which I gotta say, Michaela, I was surprised that Lena went that way because
Me too.
I feel like Tessian saw that you were very conflicted over the whole situation, and he was afraid he might have like pushed you one way or the other because he definitely kind of has what he wants to do long term, and he wanted to make sure that he hadn't pushed you, so he wanted to make sure that you knew you could still back out now, but you didn't. And I was like, cool, like awesome, because like I was like, she made the choice and she fucking stuck with it, and I was
I like that too. Like I know it's gonna cause conflict later, but actually I saw like a lot of growth there for Lena, not kind of caving to peer pressure and really just sticking to something that she decided. That was actually a really good moment for me. I wasn't sure which way she would go, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised that she stuck with it.
Yeah, I was.
Lena putting her foot down.
Yeah. I don't think Michaela loved the tension, but we were talking during the break, and I was like, I think it's great. I think it's so interesting, and it's not fabricated. Like, we're not, like, doing tension for tension's sake. Like, this is just clearly my character thinks one way, your character thinks another way, and I think that's really cool. I will say Isaac is definitely, like, Tessian is leading her down a path, and he's not thrilled with it. But it's not, like, a path of evil. It's a path more like the greater good and like killing, a few to save the many. And like, so it's not a bad path, but it's not the path that Isaac would choose or necessarily that he thinks is the most moral. And so, but it's not like, oh, you're evil. I think you're going to be a villain. Like, I don't think that at all.
What, if you don't mind me asking, Michaela, what was the tipping point for Lena? If you care to divulge, like, what was the point where she was like, no, this is what I want to do instead of the other one?
It's a fair question. It's kind of been building up for a while now, just this ongoing conflict of like, well, we have to save this girl, and she wasn't really, not that she's opposed to helping people, but she kind of has to, now that she's the leader, it's just to weigh the decisions of like, okay, is this really important for the bigger picture of what we're trying to do? Is this going to be worth it? And then, like, pretty much as soon as they got into Lycidian and she saw, like, just the scope of the city, and then also the botched stealth mission was a big part of that decision, too. Just like, well, I screwed up, and I know I did, so on one hand, it's like she wanted to see it through, but also she kind of has to look ahead and like, okay, maybe not dwell on my mistakes, gotta accept it and just move forward, do what's best for the team.
Isaac has a lot of very pointed things to say about that, but I think I also think it's entirely in character. So.
Yeah, I do too. Like I think Isaac said, he was like, well, you can accept it and move forward, but by fixing the thing that you messed up. But like she sees that she's doing it in a different way, in a different way than Isaac would have done it. You know what I mean? And that's what's exciting about it, having these conflicts, actual tension in the story because of everyone's different perspectives. Like that's what's so cool.
Yeah, and it's nice. Now, the way that it's, I think, thankfully at this point, everybody has a reason to be like, okay, I think the Conatus is the next step here. Even Isaac, fucking bleeding heart, is like, we need to kind of lay low for a while. This detour, and it's not a detour, it's the main point, but you know what I'm saying, is like this journey will kind of take us out of the city spotlight, give us something else to do, and then obviously Lena and Tessian, they've been wanting to do this the whole time. So
yeah, that's I think going to be the biggest point of conflict moving forward, because I don't think Tessian, and I'm pretty sure that is where, like, we essentially have two main goals in this group right now. Like, we're supposed to have one main goal with like a side goal, and there's some of us that are like, stop Faust Dryden, maybe Conatus, and there's some of us that are like, Conatus, stop Faust Dryden, maybe along the way.
Right.
And like, so we have, I don't know, I still think Isaac pretty much blatantly disregarded the entire leadership dynamic that we kind of agreed we'd set up.
You think?
And
no, don't think it. He did.
So
he
like,
was ready to be like, nah. So
yeah, so like, I don't know. I mean, Tessian has not forgotten that. That's for sure, because like that was the whole reason we were all together. And so, yeah, no, 100%, because he's just like, oh, okay, cool, all that stuff we agreed upon. You don't actually give a flip about it, do you? Like, okay, cool, I'll keep that in mind going forward.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
No, actually, but it's not true. I do, but like you said, there are at times different priorities. I wouldn't even say, and really, I'm not trying to. There are a couple of things I wanted to say here, and I'm like, no, actually, I think this could come up in conversation. But I will say it's closer to Faust, and my mission and helping people is the number one thing, and the Conatus is the number two thing. So it's not that I don't care. It's that it is not as high of a priority. So we have the overlap, and just our Venn diagrams are different. Right, they're both Venn diagrams, you know?
In Tessie, for all of Tessian's own personal reasons, he's very much like, I'm committed, even if I have to sacrifice, to getting this done, and he does not see you making that commitment, and in fact, he sees you basically not being loyal. Right. And to him, he kind of he has a problem with that. So... yeah, I don't know. Well, that'll be interesting to see going forward. I mean, you're on board now, so I don't think he has to push it for a little while, but I don't see how it's not going to come up at some point. I'm interested.
It will absolutely.
Yeah.
Will absolutely come up again. I mean, unless something changes and we realize in the first test that the Conatus, there's more urgency or importance than we found out to this point. If it finds out there is actually a clock on this for some reason, or it is more dire than we initially thought. Not that the symbolism and all that isn't important, but if we find some more urgency, I think he could change his tune. But for right now, he's like, you know, we get to it when we get to it. Right or wrong, that's how he kind of thinks about it.
Well, the Shrine of Zenithra has some answers. If the party goes there. Seems to be the next destination, but it's going to be up to them ultimately, and there's still some wiggle room in here because of a certain daughter who's looking for a certain father that's somewhat in the area, so they may have another path ahead of them as well, but I suppose we'll see next time unless anybody else has any other comments or anything. You guys good?
I'm good.
Doing good.
So yeah, we'll see you next time on the Anachroschism.
Bye.